when it comes to writing CSS, all we were doing is this thing. We were writing CSS inside the style attribute as its value, the value of style, right?
Yes.
Here went our CSS. So now look, every element will have the CSS attribute, whatever that element which will require some styling. That element will have a style attribute, and there will be this was some small code which we were working on, but later on there will be hundreds and thousands of lines of code, and there will be hundreds of thousands of style um, attributes, and it will be a very cumbersome way to give CSS to the whole HTML, because everything will be scattered everywhere. We will have to take care of so many style attributes. So for that, what we do is we remove the style attribute from here. I mean, we don't write it here, and we write the CSS into another file, index.css, right? But before we can write the CSS for elements of this HTML file, right? Of this HTML file, we have to connect this index.css file to our HTML file. And like I said in the beginning, that this head tag, this head element is used to this element contains the links and relationships for different files, right? So to connect this index.css file, I would like you to open your HTML pages on your respective computers
Okay.
and write this. Let me write it from beginning. Edit again. So this is inside head element, and this tag is called link, as we are making a link to the CSS file. And link is for CSS, and when we want to relate this JavaScript file .js file, we use script tag, right? So it's not like if we have to link any other file, we will also use link. Link is for CSS. We will use script tag for integrating the JavaScript file into it. But for now, let's just take care of the CSS file. So this is link tag. We close it. It doesn't require any closing tag, and it will require an attribute which is called href. That's for reference, and is equal to the value of it will be the name of the
Path.
index.css file. Yes. Yes.
So if it is like
Did
instead
you?
of href,
Yes.
we can use src also.
No, we don't use src here. This is fixed, and src will be used in script tag
Oh.
when we will connect this JavaScript file. So src is equal to index.js. JS stands for JavaScript. So to
Okay.
connect JavaScript file, we use src, the script source, right? Source.
Yes.
And we just give the reference href, and inside it we write, this is actually not the name of the file, though it is the name of the file, but it is basically the address of the file. So because this file, as I yesterday sent you a link which talks about paths, file path in HTML, did you have a look at that?
Yes.
HTML file paths. Yes, that explains this thing, and this says that if this HTML.css index.css file is in the same folder as the file in which we are trying to integrate it, we don't need to specify. We don't need to give the slash, the folder name, or etc. Just write the name. If it is in some different folder, we will have to write its path. For example, this index.html, let's say I'm making a folder here, and this folder is CSS and JS. This is a folder, and I'm transferring this index.cs file into this folder.
Nilesh, I'm having one
Yes.
doubt. When we are
Yes.
writing the name of the folder, is there any specific because first word we need to small letter and second one we need to start with the
Yeah.
capital? Is it like
Yeah,
this?
because yes. In frameworks, there are always some kind of standards, rules. If we break the rules, it won't give us an error or anything like that. But there are rules which we will talk about later when we will learn JavaScript. There are, uh, there is something called camel casing, in which the first word, the first letter
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
whole name should be small. Like if I want to say, like let's say Nilesh Sharma, then I'll write Nilesh. The
Okay,
first word will start with a small letter, and whatever words will come after that, they will have their first letter as capital
okay,
letters. Nilesh Sharma, like that, right? So this
yeah,
is called camel casing. There is something called snake casing, which is like this. Everything is in small casing, and there goes an underscore and again small case. So this is known as camel casing, right? So there are
okay,
ways, but for now we are doing the basic thing, and there is no such requirement for
okay,
now. And so what I am following here is just all small casing,
okay.
uh, and this is like just simple. We can make it snake
Oh,
case. Let's do this like CSS. So every word will be separated by an underscore, right?
okay,
So let's do this. Let's follow this thing here. Yeah, it's a good thing that you brought this up. So okay, so I moved this CSS file into that folder, and I'm moving this index.js file into that folder. So now uh, front end is the folder, right? Inside this folder, we have index.html and we have CSS and JS folder. And inside this CSS and JSS folder, we have those two files. So now look, we won't be able to access this file. So what we will have to do is we'll have to write CSS and JS slash index.css. Do you understand?
yes, yes,
Right. So that's how we give the paths. So it depends. This is not the name of the file, this is the address of the file, and if these files are uh, inside the same folder in which the index.html file is, then we don't need to specify the folder name. We just give the name of the, I'm just deleting it, name of the file, because there will be no folder, so we don't need this slash and all, right? Do you understand this?
Yep.
yes. So can we
So
call that front end as a root folder, or what is the root
but
means?
this folder, uh,
Yeah.
we can say this as the root folder because the
Okay.
index.html file is in this folder, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So we don't have to worry about the root folders and what do we call them, unless we are working on some framework which requires us to have that knowledge. For now, we're just doing the basic things.
Okay.
And if you are able to study and look into these things, that's a very good thing which it will help in future to better understand. And I mean, not better, just to quickly understand the things. It's like that. Yeah. Otherwise, anyways, we're going to cover all these things when we will jump into JavaScript and React.js specifically. So yes. So now we have connected this index.css file, and we are now supposed to write the styling not in this HTML file, not in that style attribute, but in the index.css. So how would we do that? So I'm making a division. There's this division. Would you please give me a minute?
Sure.
Gaurav?
Okay, Nilesh.
I'm sorry, I should, but it's from uh, okay. So yes, so this division, all right, and I am writing something like hi everyone, and I want some styling in it. I want a background color for this hi everyone. Let me go on the screen on the web page and refresh it, so you are able to see this hi everyone here, right? And I want to give this a background color. So what I can do is I can write in the style here, right? Which we saw yesterday. I'll give background color, um, and I'll give it something like that. So as it's a division div, it will cover the whole screen, and it will give us the required, I mean the expected result. But I don't want to do that. I want to separate the CSS and HTML in different files. So what I will do is, so look, there may be some other divisions, right? Um, so what, and let me do something like that, and you'll be able to see it like that. And let me also give a line break in between. Okay, so now while writing CSS in different file, we need to select the element for which we are writing this CSS, right?
Okay.
We need to, yes. So there are CSS selectors, which we specifically call them. So the first type of selector is just the name of the element. So look, let me give another paragraph. This paragraph has something like, this is a paragraph, and this is a division, also a division. So we want all the divisions. We want to write the background color of all the divisions, right? Of all the divisions, not a single one, to be pink, let's say, to be, let's say, blue or anything. So we will select this element by just typing the name of the element, right? If we are writing for a particular element in the HTML, like, right, for one type of tag, so we just write div and give curly braces, and just inside these curly braces we just write our CSS, the same, the same syntax, which is writing the property name, which is background color, then we give the colon, and then we give the value, let's say, hmm, anything sky blue. We can't write anything which comes to our mind. There are some specified, like sky blue is a color, golden is not a color in HTML. Golden road is a color, right, as it's suggesting. So we can't write anything which comes in our mind, but there are some basic words which we can write, like which you will see on the go. So let's say sky blue. So we have given this styling to all the divisions, right? So what we are expecting, if I refresh it, uh, okay, let's first don't remove this. Hmm. So I've removed the styling, we won't be able to see it. So now we are saying, hi everyone, this is a division, this is a division, and this is a paragraph. So if I give styling to the divisions and I save it, we would be able to see that the color of the divisions would change, the background color of divisions would change, and this paragraph would be spared, right?
Okay.
Do
Okay.
you understand this thing? Yes. So if I refresh it, it's not working. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see. So division, background color sky blue. It's all good. Link href. Okay. So there is another thing. When we connect the index.css file, we give another attribute which is called relation. I'm sorry, I forgot this. Relation is equal to style sheet. We because index.css is a style sheet, right? We tell it that the relation is style sheet, and the sheet is this index.css, the reference of the sheet, right? So inside this link, we do this. Now it works. So this is what we have done. This division, there is a line break, then there is a division, then there is this paragraph, and we wrote CSS for divisions, right? We targeted divisions, we selected divisions. Let's now select paragraph. I type P because I'm selecting the paragraph tags, all the paragraph tags. Now it will apply for all the paragraph tags in the HTML. And I give it a background color of say yellow. And I save it and I go there and I refresh it. Now have you got this thing? How do we select
Yes.
elements?
Yes.
But but
Okay.
what if yes, but what if we want this division to have sky blue color, sky blue background, right? And this one to have a green background. Let's say some lighter color. Yeah, let's say it's a pink background. So what do we do? Because now if we select divisions and we do this, we will have every division under this, right? Every division will have the sky blue color, but we want this division to have some other color and the other division to have some other color. For that, what we do is we give this division an ID.
Okay.
This ID is, let's say, div division with sky blue, right?
What is it?
And we give this one an ID, let's say div with pink, yes. And again, ID, identity,
Okay.
right? So
Oh, yeah.
like ID is unique. No other element can have the same ID as this one. Otherwise, there will be problems and it will give some errors, unexpected errors, right? So
Okay.
this ID is different, right? This string, this text cannot be the same. The value of the ID can't be the same for any two elements. Like this paragraph cannot have the same ID.
Okay.
Same ID by mean it can have the ID attribute as the key. Of course, it will have it, but by same I mean this value can't match. Like for example, div with pink is same as div with pink right here. So they have to have different division. I mean IDs. So we will write. I will change it, right? P,
Okay.
and this is we can write anything there, like anything, and its uses to select IDs. What we do is, so I'm removing this thing now. We don't want every division to be of same color, right? So to select IDs, what we do is we type the hash, the pound key, I think, which is called this hash, and at the beginning, and then we write the ID. So div with sky blue. So this is the selector. This has selected this division, and whatever CSS we will write inside these curly braces will apply only to this one. Do you understand?
Yes. Okay.
Yes, Irasto and Ramchandra, do you understand this thing?
Yes, Nilesh, I understand.
Okay. Ramchandra ji, okay, can
Yes,
you?
yes.
Yes. Okay. So this selector for selecting IDs, this selector works like this. We write this hash symbol right in front, and then we write ID which we have given. So it will, whatever CSS we will give to it. So let's say I'm just sticking with background color for now, and let's give it to sky blue. Give it this sky blue color, and let's save it. So what this will do is, right? So as we haven't written any CSS for the second one, which has the ID div with pink, right? So it is showing blank, no background color, and this is having sky blue color, right? So the same divisions are having different properties, right? And if you want to write CSS for the second one, so what we'll do, I'm copying this thing, div with pink, and I'm selecting this in the CSS. How do we select it? Again, the same hash key and then the name of the ID and then the curly braces. Never forget this thing. Inside these curly braces, we write. I'm copying this, and it's with pink, right? So let me change it to pink. Ah, and if I refresh it, it has changed to pink. Now you understand how we can, select on the basis of elements, I mean tags, and on the basis of IDs, right? But what if there is another division? So now forget all these division and paragraphs. I mean not all these. I mean the trailing division and paragraph. So now we have two divisions, and if we want both of them to be of the same background, we can just say div. Yes, and do this thing. But uh, but if this is a paragraph, if this is a paragraph, and we want the same color in these, so hi everyone, this is a paragraph, right? Which is sky blue background. So look, two elements cannot have the same ID, right? But this and this one now has the same ID, and this is wrong. We are going to change it. So let's say this is P with sky blue. So if we want to write CSS and give sky blue color to both of these, we will have to write separately for both of these, right?
Yes.
Like P with sky blue. This is sky blue, right? Blue. As you can see, P with sky blue and div with sky blue. We wrote two times. We wrote styling for these two different things which need the same type, though the styling is of the same type. Look, this is hi everyone, this is a paragraph P, right? P sky blue background, this is just a division. And the same styling, we have to give them the same styling. So but we cannot give them the same ID. If their ID would have been the same, right? If we can give the same ID, we can just write it once and it will apply to both of them, but we can't do it. So for this purpose, what we have is classes, because IDs cannot repeat themselves, class can repeat. So we give this a class, which is this, and we give this one a class as well. I mean, let's say they can still have ID and class at the same time, but the way we select class on and the way we select ID is different. I'll show you. So this class, so I won't say div with, I will give element with sky blue SB, right? I'm just saying typing the, okay, element, I'll give the same class, right?
Okay.
We are humans, and we can say we are in the class of creatures on planet Earth, right? So we humans have the same class, creatures. Birds have the same class, creatures. Animals have the same class, creatures. But we are humans and we have our own identity, but no other creature has that identity, right? Identity is unique. And class, we can share class, the same class, right? We can't share roll numbers. We can share the class as if we come to the schooling system. So that's what it is. So we give them the same class as B, and the way we select class is, I'm removing this. The way we select class is we write a dot instead of hash, just that, and we write the name of the class. Element with what was that? Sky blue SB, and we give these curly braces, and inside it we write background color to be narrow. Okay, so let's see if that works. So now look, let's say why did I do it? Sky, let's say sky blue, right? So now we have the same functionality, the same thing, and what we have now is we have less code, right? We were repeating things back in the previous example. If we select them by ID, we can still select them by ID, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it can have class and IDs as well. We will look into it. So this is what we wanted to achieve. So if we want to make another, button, say, right, and I close it, this button says click me, and I can give this class to this button element with SB, and let's see what happens. See,
Do that.
the background color is sky blue. I mean, I hope it is making
Yes.
some sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Like, so as I selected the class with this select CSS selector dot, so whichever elements will have this class will have this style, this property, same same, right? IDs cannot be
Friendly.
shared. IDs are unique, so we cannot use IDs as classes. Like we cannot give the same ID. So right. So for example, this is used when, for example, we want all the. All right. So this was a division. Let's say. So let's say this is some page, and let's say this is some other page. Oh, I keep on writing this backslash. And there is another division, let's say. Now we wanted every element in this division, right, to be of some kind of same color. So we gave some class to every element and made that sky blue, and we want the elements of this division to have red color instead of sky blue. So what we will do, we'll just give, let me just copy and paste it here. We'll just give some different class, let's say RD. We can write anything, but just the name has to be the same. Like let's say RD. It has nothing to do with CSS. I can even, let me just do this. I can even write my name. So this is Nilesh. This is Nilesh. And I can just do the same. So that was it. And I'm selecting that class, and I give this property. So every element which has this class will have this property.
Okay.
Let's say red. So the second division, right? Let's say this is second division, and this is first division. So look, in the first division, color, because these have the same class, and this has red. This is the same. Also, classes, there can be more than one classes as well, right? So this, how do we write more than one classes? We don't go and write another class like that. No, that's wrong. We just give a space separated list, right? So this is element with SB, and this is, let's say, this is the second class, and this is the third class. So look, let me give a class named good border, and let me give the same to it, good border. I'm sparing this middle one. So, and I'm gonna write CSS for this good border class here. Good border. I hope now you are aware of the syntax dot good border, because this is a class we are accessing and selecting it with a dot and not by a hash. That is done for IDs.
ID.
Yes. So border, I'm just giving it a border. Let's say 2 pixels, solid black, and I'm giving it a border radius. So border radius of 10 pixels, let's say. And if I save it, so I haven't given this ID to the second division, right? Any of the elements of the second division. I just have given this to these two, and I skipped this paragraph. So let's see what happens. So look,
Yeah.
I gave this good border to this one and this one, right? And I gave border radius. As you can see, this has a border radius, and this has also a border radius. Also, I gave this border of 2 pixels, so you can see the border of 2 pixels in both of them. I didn't give the class to this one, good border. So it is the same as it was before, no changes. So do you understand?
Yeah.
Like we can give more than one classes to same element, just separate them by space, and we can write CSS for them. So now that's I mean, like that's all for the concepts of ID and CSS. I mean, sorry, ID and classes in CSS. Now, ID and classes will be of a great use when we will, work in JavaScript. So if we want to change some, content in this division, we will select also. So as we selected this in CSS, right? We use this we are able to target the element in which we want to make the change, right? So in JavaScript also, with CSS, we cannot change the content of the element, right? We can't change hi everyone to
Yes, yes.
hi. Yeah, right. So we will use JavaScript for that. And in JavaScript also, we will target some element so that we can make change to it. And though the way would be different, right? The CSS has this selector thing, dot, hash, and all these things. JavaScript has its own things. So the other ways, the syntax will be different, but the idea would be same. Some element would be targeted in which the change has to be done.
Okay.
So to recapitulate, the thing which we discussed today is yes,
If we want to give like padding all CSS properties, so
yes,
we can
yeah,
include in class attribute.
yes,
Here we
yes.
have given a background color and then border.
Yes,
So same simultaneously we can add padding and
of
everything.
course. Let me do it. Yes, I'm giving padding to like every CSS property. You can write it here. Anything.
Okay.
So I'm saving it. So let's say the elements which have this class will have padding of 20 pixels, and you will see it. It will reflect it right here. So I gave this CSS. I mean, gave this class to these two in the second division, right? You can see. So, and I gave padding 20 pixels. They have the padding 20 pixels now, right?
Yeah.
Padding is, as you know, the distance between the border and the content.
Yeah.
So it increased, right? And so if one may argue that this is not 20 pixels, border is so far away, but this is because this is a block element and it is bound to have as much width
Yeah.
as the screen is, as the screen has, right?
Yeah.
But this surely will be 20 pixels, like right from here to here. This would be 20 pixels. And if let me change it to span. So this paragraph is a block element. Let me change it to span. So I have changed I didn't change the division, right? The upper one, which is also a block one. So now you will be, let me just give them a line break. Oh, mm, oh man. Okay, so span, look, we have to give another line break because one line break would bring it in the bottom. and one line break would show us that span, because span is in inline, so it won't already come downward, right? Is to bring that uh, at the bottom of the division, and the second one is to give the space. It's not something that we should ponder over much, but yes, as you can see, now this is 20 pixels, because a span doesn't want the full width of the screen. It is not bound to have that width. It just acquires whatever width we give it to it, what we give to it, right? So this is the content, this is the borders, and they have this. This is 20 pixels, this is 20 pixels, this is 20 pixels. So that's it.
Nilesh,
So
uh,
yes,
uh,
we can
you
give box shadow.
mentioned
Yes,
like first division and second division. In first division,
yes.
actually, you have given three things actually for each one. In first division,
In the first
I'm
division,
sorry.
I have, yes,
In first division,
yes.
actually, you mentioned hi everyone, like with one color and another one. I think three statements you have given, right? In first division.
Yes, yes.
So instead of giving like for each element, like here div, uh, can you give like here only above one? This is the first div, above div. Are you
Oh,
getting the point? Sorry.
to here,
Yeah, yeah,
here.
because yeah, instead of giving for
Yeah,
each element ID class and ID
look,
class,
look,
so
look. I'm showing. Yes.
yeah,
So let's give an ID equal to first
yeah,
div.
that's what I'm asking.
So it won't work the way we want it to work. So let's. So you want. So let me just remove everything and just select this with the hash, because that's an ID. First div. And what do you want me to write here
Not
inside it?
ID, I'm asking class. If you
Okay,
write a
right.
class,
Okay,
yeah,
okay. Let's say class. So yes. So what should I write here now?
you can include background color
Okay.
and
Background
then
color,
border and
uh,
border.
sky blue. So you'll see what we're trying to do and what we are trying to do now. There is a lot of difference, and we'll see. So let's give 2 pixel solid, and let's give it black. Okay. So should I go and refresh now,
Yeah,
or do you want me to add anything else?
no, nothing.
Okay. So let me refresh it. So this is what it has done.
Oh,
So as the division is division, we were trying to give background color to the individual elements,
hmm.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
and
Hmm.
yes, and these elements are inside this. So earlier this didn't have the background color, right? Only this
Yeah,
division had the background color, P had the background color, button had the background. Now uh, this division has the background color as sky blue. I hope Irasto and Ramchandar, I hope you get this point. So the border also is for the division, not for the individual, right?
yeah,
So yes, yes. So
yeah,
if you want to give borders to individual elements, we will have to select them individually, right? Or maybe give the classes like
yeah.
that. So if I save it now, though the division has the class now, but I have removed the CSS, so we won't see any of this sky blue and this border now. So I hope it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, you can give styling here, but uh, we won't be able to achieve what we were doing. Like it is not an alternative. It's a
Okay.
different thing. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course we can write give a class to it, because it is also an element. We can give ID or class anything to it. So yes, we can do that. Also, any other doubt, Maheshwari?
No, 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 no.
Okay, okay. So Yes, I let me just um, hmm. So we have seen what IDs are unique always, what class is, how they can be used. You cannot give two IDs to the same paragraph, as far as I know. I haven't used anything like that and haven't seen anything like that. But you can give multiple classes to the same element, and multiple elements can have the same classes as well. So you can give multiple classes to the same element, and the same class can be in possession of multiple elements as well. So that's all
Like,
as far as CSS is concerned with ID and class. Yes, please.
yeah. CSS selector means is only ID and class. Any another one also is there?
Yeah. So there are three actually which we have discussed. We can select element name. So if we select by element name, like we did previous, wrote div and we gave substyling to it, this will apply to each and every division only, to each and every division inside the HTML. If we will have 10 divisions, it will apply to all those 10 divisions, right?
Yeah.
Whatever we will write inside CSS, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So select by element name. You can select by class name, which is like dot class name, whatever the class name is, right? And you can select by ID.
Ash.
Let's start. Yes. Um, so that's like whatever the ID name. Let's name. I mean, let's leave it like that. ID dot class. So that's how we select elements in CSS from the HTML, and we put CSS inside it. So the homework or little assignment for it would be whatever you have made, the two little web pages that we tried to figure out, um, which I shared with you, like uh, which were under the title Project Zero on the blog. Uh, so you can move them in. You can move that CSS of those pages to this new file, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you have to just make that transition. I mean, migrate that CSS inside the HTML, remove the style attributes, just give them IDs or classes, whatever you want to do. If you think two same or more than one elements have the same styling, exactly the same styling, like that, like the a links, right, in the second um, um, assignment. You remember after this?
Anchor tags.
Yes, they were the same, right?
Yeah.
And what? Let me just show you. Hmm. Um, just a minute. Yes. So, oh, yeah. Open
Project
this.
Zero, I think.
Yeah, this one. So there are these two anchor tags. It ends here, the first one. So look, and because this one is the click here to visit YouTube, and this is for click here to visit my blog. These are two links, and look, the style is the same
Yeah.
in both of them. This says text decoration none. Text decoration none means the underline that you have in the. You get it?
Oh,
If
yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
yeah, you can remove that by giving text decoration as none. So decoration padding is 10, border radius is 10 pixels, and background color is silver. So just exactly the same. So what we can do? We cannot give we cannot use IDs for this purpose, though they can have ID and classes at the same time. But for this purpose, we can only use, will give it a class. Let's say class anchor tags, and give it a class as, I hope you're getting this, anchor tags. And what we'll do in CSS file, let's say this is the CSS file. Let's say this is the CSS file where the cursor is right now. We will write dot, because it's a class, anchor tag, and inside the curly braces we will write these properties. Let me copy and paste them. Control C. Oh, I just did again Control C instead of Control V. Okay, so that's how we will write, and it would work. This is in the CSS file. I hope this makes sense, and we'll remove this style from here. Any confusion in this? Hello?
No, Nilesh.
Okay. Ji. So can you do you have the confidence to change this inline CSS to the CSS in different file now? Can you do it as an assignment for tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yes. Also, there is another thing which just came to my mind a moment ago. I forgot. Yes. So in Erasto's code yesterday, what you were seeing, what we observed was this style element, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So whatever we are writing here, we can write it in that style tag, and it will work the same. Style element still requires, because when we write style, and whatever we will write inside it would be as if this is a new file, this is another file, as if, and we don't need this any link for this type of styling. This is nothing another just a way to write the same styling inside HTML. So there are three ways, right? One, in another file, the so the first one we looked at was inline styling, which was writing style in the attribute,
Okay.
like this.
Okay.
The second one is putting that in a file, which is the best way. So putting that in the different file is the best way. Just remember it. And putting it inside the style element is another way, which is better than putting into the attribute.
Okay.
But we would prefer writing CSS in a separate file.
Okay.
The code becomes more manageable and more understandable, right? So look, we don't need to change anything. Like still IDs are relevant, classes are relevant, and inside the style element, we still use the selectors dot. I just copied and pasted it as you just saw.
Yeah.
So Erasto, if you can please share your code from yesterday's the assignment,
Okay.
and we can analyze it.
Okay.
Just please share it.
Sure.
Let me just stop mine. And Ramchandraji, were you able to figure out what the anchor tags and all these things?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so you have sent me. Let me just share my screen again.
Oh.
Oh, you just shared it. Okay, no, you can share it.
Okay.
Yes. So please scroll a little bit.
Okay.
Yes. So you can see this style element.
Yeah.
Inside it, we have this first class dot tiny something 39 again. So there is this hover
Mhm.
which you are able to see in the 39th line, right?
Yeah.
We can talk about this. It hardly would take 2 minutes. So for now, just ignore this thing.
Mhm.
But as we can see, the class which is written in 28th line, there must be an element which has this same class. How do we know this is a class? Because the selection starts with a dot,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? So that's why I said this class.
Mhm.
If it would have been some hash,
Mhm.
you know,
ID.
tag or symbol, yes, then it would have been. I would have said that this ID, there
Mhm.
must be some ID. Yes. So for now, there must be some element which has this class.
Mhm.
So which element has this class? Let's scroll up
Okay.
because this is written in the style
Mhm.
element. So class is it? Uh, I can't see it. Can you scroll down? Maybe
Okay.
it's written below the style. Yes, below. Yes, 40 in the 46th line, 8th line.
Oh, yeah.
In the 48th line,
Mhm.
there's this class, and this is what? This is an A anchor tag.
Mhm.
And can you please run this code? So first of all,
Yeah.
let's see what this CSS is inside for this class.
Mhm.
The CSS is in the 29th line. We can see color blue violet.
Yeah.
There is border radius. Yeah, right. There is background color as gray,
Mhm.
and text decoration none. It will remove the underline.
Yeah.
So let's see. And this tiny, I mean, this 39th line, this hover thing
Mhm.
is, so after selection, if we put double, I mean this colon, and we type hover, we give this event which is hover. That means if we hover our pointer over that thing, what should happen? So if we hover over it, the background color will change to this color,
Green.
and text decoration
Yeah.
would still be none. So let's could you please open
Sure.
this in your browser? Yes. So look, when we hover over it, when Erasto is taking his pointer over the button, you can see the color is changing, right?
Oh,
We can do this thing with JavaScript, but CSS has this feature, and that's a better way, like easiest way to do the hovering thing. So we put the colon and we give the CSS. So when we hover over it, the CSS properties would change to these properties, 40 and 41st line, right? Are you getting this,
yeah.
Maheshwari and
Yes.
Ramchandraji?
Yes. Yes.
So if we would, Erasto, you can
Okay.
close the
Oh,
screen
sure.
sharing, and thank you for that.
No
And
problem.
let me share my screen now. So now, if I want that when I hover over this element only, the background color changes to yellow. So how would I do that? So I just want to target this element. So what should I do? An ID or a class, but that class should not be possessed by some other element, because if some other element also has that class, that element will also have this thing. When I will hover over it, that element would also change its properties, but I want to target just this single element. So it is better to give it an ID, and then uh, we will give that ID the hovering feature. So let's say, which one is this? Yeah, this is the second division, and this is one which we are targeting. So division with sky blue. Let's remove this, and let's say uh, div hover. anything. Like it's nothing fixed. I can write anything. Like nil hover. And what I will do is I will target this in the style. So now you know what this is doing. I'm just removing it from here. Now you have the idea of style element, what it is and what is the use of it. So when you see it somewhere, you don't get confused. That was the motto to mention this. But otherwise, we will be writing CSS inside this separate page only, separate file only. So let me give the ID, because that was an ID. I use this hash and over. No. Yes. So this is how I selected that element, and I want that when I hover over that element, the properties change. The CSS properties change, right? So what I will do is I'll give this colon and I write hover. This is fixed. You have to write it like that. Hover. This is a CSS syntax. You can't like do it like that. Yeah, of course, we can't do it. So that's a property, and that's kind of a function in CSS, right? And we write whatever CSS we write in here, that will apply as long as our pointer will be on that element. Do you understand? Yes. So let me just make the background color to be yellow. And let's say when I hover over it, the cursor would be pointer, right? Or maybe a crosshair. There is property called crosshair. So the pointer, which right now is this, what do we call this? This cursor, like the pointer is this eye-shaped pointer. Let me call this like that. That will change to some plus sign when we will hover over it, and we can give some other properties as well. For example, will change when we hover over it. The font size, let's say, would become 40 pixels. So let's see what changes it makes there. So when I refresh the page, you don't see any changes, right? But when we will hover the pointer over it, can you see the change?
Yeah.
Like first of all, you are able to see the color change. Then this font size has changed, and then the pointer. Can you see the pointer has changed?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the hover thing. So when we hover over this element, when we hover over any other element, nothing is happening because we haven't selected those elements when we try to give them the hover property, right?
Okay.
So you have to remember this thing. For simple CSS properties, we just select it and write CSS inside the curly braces. That's the syntax. And to give this hover thing, we still write the CSS into the curly braces, but just between the selection and the curly braces, we put this colon and hover. That's the only difference, right? Is the syntax clear?
Yeah, Nilesh.
Yes.
Okay. Uh, yes, I mean, so this is the selection part, and this is the CSS part with the curly braces. So that's common for any of the above CSS we have given, like the selection part and the properties in curly braces. The selection part, the properties in curly braces. The selection part, properties in curly braces. Here also we have selection part, the properties in curly braces. The only difference is we have in between colon and hover.
Okay.
That's the syntax we have to keep in mind. So if we don't want something to change on hovering, we just want to give simple CSS, static CSS, we just do it like this. This is pretty simple. Again, just selection of the element, and in the curly braces, the properties. Properties, syntax of writing the properties is property name. If that's more than one word, we separate them by a dash, not an underscore, a dash. Then you put a colon, and then write the value of the property, and then semicolon. And we don't have to, write it in a new line. That's because it looks good, but
Yeah.
we can also write like this. As I told you, the line breaks in code doesn't mean anything
Yeah.
to the browser.
Yeah.
So we can give as many line breaks, it won't affect anything in the code. It would work, no error it would give us. But just to make it look better and to increase the maintainability of the code, I mean maintenance of the code, yeah, maintainability I can say. So for that purpose, we make it look a bit organized. So that's why I'm giving line breaks, and everyone does that, not just me. So that's it, hovering thing. So what I wanted to do is to please try to convert the inline CSS that you have done in the previous uh, assignments into a new file.
Okay.
That's all. Yes, that's the assignment for tomorrow, and I can. So should I? I mean, okay, I'll share this on WhatsApp group. I'll remind you of the assignment, and I'll share some other things too. Also, yesterday I shared some links, some the HTML path, and there were a few other links. Just anytime, whenever you feel and whenever you have time to go through them, just always try to go through them because I'm sharing these things which will be not required. I mean, which are not prerequisites for anything which we are going to learn, but they will give you some nice, skills. So
Okay.
getting to know the paths, what is HTML, what is how do we access, what is a file path, what is a URL. So I'll keep on sharing these things, and please knock out some time to have a read of them. Yes, so thank you very much. That's all for today, and if you have any questions or doubts, you can please ask.
Nothing from my side, Nilesh.
No. Yeah, nothing from my side.
Okay, okay, Maheshwari, okay, Rastro, and Ramchandraji, if you have any doubts, we can
Yeah,
discuss it here, or you can, bring it up on WhatsApp chat.
yeah, okay, fine, Nilesh.
Yes, anytime. Yes. Okay,
Nilesh.
thank you very much.
Sorry.
Yes, yes, please,
Just
Rastro.
yeah, just one request. So since I'll stop recording this